Hallo, agus fáilte go trí seascait den program ag BBC Alba a bhí dul go críosail spòrs na ban in Alba. Is me Iona Ballantyne agus cóilrúm an teachcinnte àrd-ìre na h-Alba fa is 9 bliana díag Pauline Hamill. Ar program na héiche noch, chun sin cimratha dulga Pauline cóirí skipan na h-Alba fa is 9 bliana díag. Bhir sin sùil na geamaichean ag skipan h-inntinn an ban an Cupa Phinatar agus géibh sin in 9 úra bhsil spòrs togail chuideaman le Annie Nelson a Cuideachd. Pauline, welcome back to 360.
Thank you.
It's great to have you back. You are straight off the runway, pretty much onto the sofa. Can you just tell us what you've been up to?
Yeah, we've been, the under-19s have been at the Phinatar Youth Cup as well. So at the same time as the national team, that tournament was running, and we've had 8 days in Phinatar. So yeah, we've had a great time. It's been fantastic.
Great. Now we will come to the senior squad later on in the programme, but first of all, tell us about your squad, your under-19s. How do you feel like you got on?
Yeah, I think it was a really great 8 days. I think in terms of training and being together and building relationships on and off the pitch, and then on top of that having 2 really competitive matches. I think, you know, in terms of preparation for our qualification matches, it couldn't really have gone much better. Of course, you know, there's things within each games we could have done better, but I think overall across the 8 days it's been really good for the team. You're
happy with actually how the team are looking now heading into the rest of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that playing that level of international preparation matches really lets us understand where the players are at, and gives us an idea of what we're doing well and the things we need to improve, and I think we got that from both matches. A really tough first game against Hungary, and Hungary were really good, and they gave us a lot of problems, but we did really well to stay in the game for so long and could have won it. And in the second game, just a really good performance from the team and a fully deserved win.
I was just going to say, you must be delighted with those 3 goals as well against the Czech Republic in that second game.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, really comfortable with how we dominated that game, but we maybe didn't have the goals till late in the game. But yeah, to win 3-0 in any international match, especially against a good team like Czech Republic, then gives the players a lot of confidence.
Looking at those 2 games, what exactly is it that you're looking to improve on now?
Yep. So moving forward, we'll look to our first game in qualifying is against Liechtenstein, and we'll want to take some parts of both the games we've played in Phinatar, some of the good things, and really try and continue to develop those. But also, you know, in the qualification we would expect to have more of the ball than we've had in our last qualification campaign. So really looking to also build on our style of play where and when possible against those teams, and ultimately get 2 wins.
And get 2 wins, exactly.
Yeah,
which you know that you can do, because even looking at the squads and seeing them come together, are you quite happy with how they're looking?
Yeah, I mean, the players are fantastic. They always give everything they have for our national team, and they're such a delight to work with. We'll be very well prepared, and we'll be ready for those matches, and the aim's to win, but the aim's also to ensure the players have a really good positive experience and learn as much as they can in that environment.
And I'm sure they loved their time out in Spain just there too?
Yeah, they don't want to come home. Maybe slightly different for the staff, but yeah, they just being together. A lot of them have come through the youth teams, and even prior to that in the regional programmes since they've been 13 years old, you know, and they've spent so much time together across all of those programmes. So I think they get on so well, and you can just see, you know, the relationships continuing being built in that environment, and I really think they want to stay in Phinatar. But yeah, it's nice to come home and they can now be back at their clubs and do as well as they can for their clubs.
Did they see the senior squad in action when they were out there?
Yeah, they did. Yep, we just with schedules and things, we managed to get them to the first game, and it's always very nice for them to sit in the stand and just look at the players that, you know, they potentially are playing in a similar position and learn from what they're seeing on the pitch. And that's kind of little tasks that we gave them at the game to just identify players that both in our team and in the Icelandic team that they can learn from. And I think that they're really good, conscientious players, and they want to get better, and they're very open to things like that, and it's great to see them looking at football in that way.
That is great, because they're watching what they could be, hopefully, fingers crossed, soon in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, the women's game across the years is changing, it's evolving, and that happens very quickly now, and the players need to, at that age, have an understanding of what the international game looks like at the top level, and what they can contribute to that, but also knowing, you know, the skills that the players have, and how they can develop their own game to be at potentially that level in future years, and add, of course, their own skills, because some of our players have got some really good skills of their own as well.
I was going to ask, was there a standout player that kept popping up that your squads were looking at, that they wanted to learn from?
I think it's more positionally, so we got the players to look at the players positionally, as opposed to outstanding players. And I think the girls done that, and done that well. I think in our under-19 squad we've got good players. Many are playing SWPL 1 every week, and they're learning so much from playing in that high-intense environment at such a young age. And you can see that from our squad, you know, there's a few who, you know, we believe have potential to play for the national team in the future.
How pleasing is it for you being in a position now with your squad, almost all of them playing in SWPL 1, getting good game time every week?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, you know, the clubs are doing their utmost to try and ensure that happens, and to try and give us, the young players, an opportunity to play, because ultimately that's where you learn the most. And, you know, everyone can learn so much from training and working with international players at training, but being on the pitch and having the opportunity to learn from your own mistakes, and to improve your decision making, and have to do everything quicker, it's ultimately the way that, you know, it can elevate your performances really quite quickly.
Well, it's great for the players. It's great to have you back. We will be speaking about all of this more shortly, but again, thanks for coming almost straight off the runway.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, in Talmanish, àrd-ìre cheann agus Cupa Phinatar an Cupa Phinatar, farpish sa àrd-ìre a bhí gal páis fo 2018. Han arpish sa tors corm gan choidse, Pedro Martinez Losa, beachail an squad éige choiseach na geamaichean jeirihí fàilte. Nach torsín sùil maithe na geamaichean in ein Iona na Philippines agus a còmhradh.
The Cuideachd in Eshtchinka weir go Emsley. Oh, he had got shachat to the first. Agus he had còmhradh de galate. Going can spot finish a Howard on the hand. Agus he for the first. Agus na còmhradh galate to state da vinnet. Agus ha Sophie Howard gemami orstanach on the hand. Agus Jenna Sashkas na Sashka skipper Pedro Martinez Losa. Nil gunnars de fall of haas geta. He. Stjachko weer. Weer. Fiechade wiegen Eshtchinka Brown. Brown tashing in the box. A caught on the Agus. Oh, my graag. Corsi. Le Unie. Gus a stude. Gus stay. Ikke vast de goed. Gus hanoring is Jenny Jan. Gus a shing haast. Kajun aan de sunnish tel. Hal nestjes how weird nestjes voxe weird le sabelig en nestje tinka hey shachat to the first to the east. Shachat in the voxe Carmen helpt again Chile but in Hanaket agus hier tal de Cupa Phinatar David agus 3 That's a darn it all on the Guinness Chile. Machrach sa hánig, dá hal tefis de chavór minute. Táir sé nema a den eiste tíana seach le Smith. Smith seach an bhachsa go Thomas a chétíadach orneach na gáil thoiseach de bróg. Ballan a chuige tré agus a chiad carm cumarstach. Dúlach braid all bhach go mach go hizada ach sé Patrina Guiú. Stoiach an jaar. Oh, sé stay. Hen go seachad to the chuideachd agus het Cuideachd na gúla gín. Agus ha Lauren Davidson in the chiatal lein to go up Cupa Phinatar Davile agus a trí ríchid. Agus fe sia minute in the dácar go Iona. Corm an the neiste agus a skipid anis a go tré a channe le sùil ag geamaichean leor. Corm an the grimseach atá is ha in a siúdach seachat the fós apid corm lé to go up agus the Christy grimseo agus hiú in hama te dútan gluchit go up. Lí Dóing in the box agus the goal. To go up had the goal. Gá Canyani and thoiseach agus sí Rachel Corsi. Yes. Corm an the Mannequin. Since the first reunion agus half sued the Corishen. We smúnú go mór an sin bharach Corm is na minute mi dhéadú ag na Hilan an Filipínach agus Karst a tían an 10 o'clock. Serrano han agus had hall the goal stay. Sud the sonretje van Merel Serrano. Daar na tel lechtje sig in na Hilan an Filipínach is an goeitje game echtje gonna skip an áisinta. Cuideachd Chelsea. Then h-Alba rasa gisteach. Raini sin agus apertel. Chunna fosta chúl le Erin Cuthbert agus Sophie Howard le ceann gus tíreach mar bille go chud isteach gantel h-Alba I thoiseach. Hanna Céinic I cheanthall I héin go thuirsta Fishlock an neolaithe go chud isteach agus is seo Tá chumraí I tílig arás. Ball I bríomh Fishlock. Suas go Kerry Holland agus seachad I Lee Gibson.
a hand tuair is togail but agus teach a horst a chléir Emsley aing as agus ball a bhrí teach ar a fosta agus peace skill míorvalach a bheith siad.
Pauline, Scotland won one, drew one, lost one, not in that order. We'll come to that soon, but how would you sum up the tournament as a whole?
I mean, it's always good to have time with your team and to try and develop your style of play, but I think overall, you know, getting results at the national team level is the most important thing. I think we're in this unique position that we can go away to these tournaments and play a good standard of team. But you know, I think we would all expect Scotland to win those 3 games. I think then when you start to dissect the games, I think in the first game we created so many opportunities and we should have been ahead. And I think in football you can see when you're not ahead that you leave yourself really quite vulnerable. And that proved the case against Iceland, where it was 2 goals in quick succession and all of a sudden you're losing the match. And that can happen so much in football. I think getting into the game against the Philippines and making the changes that the squad made, we still got the result in the end, but we would have hoped for a better performance, especially in the first half. And then the final game against Wales, it's always tough playing against another home nation, you know, and there always is that added edge that they ultimately want to win that game as much as you. But again, I felt in the first half in that game that there were so many good signs in terms of pressing from the front and winning the ball high and having opportunities, but again not capitalising on those opportunities. And then I think second half Wales did well. So in the end I would say potentially a draw is a fair result in that moment.
And that's the thing, like when you look at the team as a whole, there are so many talented players playing at some really top clubs across the world. This is a team that should be doing better, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's difficult because everyone expects so much, and I think we get back-to-back qualification for finals and people start to believe that that's the norm, and the reality is that everyone else round about you is improving. And yep, you're correct in saying that we do have good players playing, especially at a really high level, you know, in particular, but you still got to perform. You know, you can be at that club level and performing fantastically well and come into the national team environment, and you have to perform to play for the national team, and performance helps win you games, and you can see how difficult it can become when maybe we're not firing all cylinders.
What would you say is the main thing that this team is missing?
I think we look quite vulnerable, so we need to find ways to get ahead in games early or quicker, because we look vulnerable to transitions to our defensive line, and I think that when you have that in the back of your mind and you're conceding, or you may concede a goal, you need to get ahead. So it is about becoming more clinical in the final third and getting ahead when we're dominating, because we are showing really good examples of dominating opposition at times, and just ensuring, you know, that defensively we can stop transitions to attack, because we do look vulnerable to concede.
And conceding some silly goals too, but even looking at the chances there that Scotland had against Iceland, how frustrating must that have been for the players, for the coaching staff, for people watching?
Yep, it will be, you know, and Pedro and his staff will be working so hard to try and find solutions to finishing off so many opportunities, and it is difficult as a coach, because I'm sure all the tools are there in place and the players will be shown in training at their clubs finishing attacks like that and being able to do that more often than not, but it is doing it at the highest level, it is doing it under pressure, and that's where things become a little bit more complicated. But yep, great signs in terms of attack and playing the first game, but absolutely need to finish more of those chances, because they are chances that should be finished.
Yeah, and the scoreline could have been very, very different.
Yep, and that's frustrating, because you go in at half time and you can maybe be 2 or 3-0 up, and nobody would say that Scotland didn't deserve that in that first game against Iceland. They did, because they did so well, but you need to take chances, and at the end of the day, football's about who does best in both boxes. And I think those are the areas that we need to improve in.
And it is a big year. There's the Nations League coming up and the Euro qualifiers too. Is this team ready for that?
I think there's still time to be ready. I think, you know, it's really exciting games that are going to come in terms of the Nations Leagues and the qualifiers. It's another opportunity to potentially work themselves into playing in another tournament, but nobody's going to come and give you that. You know, all the other teams you're playing against are going to want to be in those tournaments as well. And you don't have a divine right to be in a finals tournament. You have to earn it and you have to perform. And at the end of the day, on a national team level, it is about performing.
Well, hopefully we're speaking about a better Scotland soon.
Yeah.
Well, Hoshi Annie Nelson, Marlou Chlesiche, Mr. Gluishi, give you togail chuideaman. Van Urshin, ha Annie ergal van Jaarst gunjaarst, the groen gladen een briestug, agus h-Alba, gewel spòrs a cuideachail gehuwe slantje h-inntinn. Bruidhinnidh Iona h-amasan eile higher chuir roimhpe.
Hoshi Annie Nelson and Machan spòrs le lúchleach. Mr. Bruidhinnidh Iona àrd-ìre some togail chuideaman.
I did it for maybe around 6 years, I think, like competitively. And I just kind of, like, I loved it for a long time, don't get me wrong, but there was just a point where, like, I actually remember this specific day, like, I was having a bit of troubles with my mental health for a little while. And then I remember like having this one specific training session where I was just like sat at the side of the track and I was like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. And even when I got home, it was still the same. Like normally after I've trained, I feel really good, but it was this monotonous circle of like I would go and train to try and make myself feel better and do what I loved, and I just hated it. So I thought, right, I need to change something. And what I did really like was the weight sessions they would get us to do. So that was maybe like once a week, maybe not even that. It was something like that should have been a lot more often than what it was, but it wasn't. And I really, really loved that. And I thought, like, why don't I try and do that all the time? When I looked at it at first, I knew I wanted to compete just because it's in my nature. I definitely take that from my dad. I always say that. He is so competitive, actually worse than me. But yeah, I just knew there was no point. I wasn't going to train as hard for it if I wasn't going to compete in it, and I was going to kind of like do it half-heartedly. So I thought I'll go in with the goal to end up competing. So yeah, I had to just go all in from there.
Àrd-ìre Annie an a bhí togail chuideaman a bhí íontach. Sai creating innse hain barach is barach a hula bliana.
It's only the past couple of competitions that I've actually felt like really, really confident in my own capabilities. Before it was kind of like, have I maybe got here by fluke, by chance? Did I maybe get into this position because someone else didn't do as well? But now I'm more confident in the fact that no, it's because I'm actually good at this. So yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it's pretty mad to look back actually. Like, if you'd told me when I first started that I'd be in the position I am now, I would have thought you were joking. Like, there was no way that I saw myself in this position at all. I remember actually looking at the Scottish records when I first started, just so I knew like what the kind of top end in the country was. And I remember seeing the deadlift record was like 170 kilos, and I thought, oh my God, how the hell does anyone ever lift that? But now I can squat more than that, and it's not hard. Like, it's actually, like, the way your perception changes is crazy, and I'm just really grateful that I can do all of this, to be honest.
We got the weight of the world on our shoulders.
Ha togail chuideaman cuideachail misneach Annie. Ha inis saoirlú chleisiche bhríchtain ag léal dá hudas. Ais haidian bheach go the chuideachan spòrs is slantje h-inttinn.
Yeah, really proud actually, and it's like one of the first times I've been able to say that. Like, I'm really proud of how well I've done. Because when I did sport in the past, it wasn't. I didn't quite feel like that. Whereas this like really means a lot to me, and I know that I've put in so much work, so I can be really proud of that. I would say like powerlifting's really, really helped my battle against mental health. It's like it really keeps me on track. So it gives me a focus, I would say, and the biggest takeaway that I get from it is like how empowering it really is. So like compared to like a lot of sports, powerlifting is very black and white. Like if you do better at something, it's so black and white that you've got better because there's more weight on the bar, or it moves in a different way compared to what it usually did. So just knowing that, like, yes, something might feel heavy, but I'm stronger. Like, it's going to try and tell me it's too heavy for me, and it's not. There's something like quite empowering about that, so that has massively helped.
I dhéanann na chola níos a tríoch, bag àrd-ìre déalaga le Bruidhinnidh Iona, a thug droch bhuaí oran táiseach.
So at the start, it was actually really, really hurtful. It was never anything like that deep, to be honest, but it was always like from the same type of person who'd always say that I was gonna, you know, end up in a wheelchair by the time I was 30 or something like that, or like I'm doing this wrong, like you're lifting fake weights or something like that. And like at first I was like really hurt by it, and I would genuinely be really upset. But now I just laugh. Like, I genuinely don't care now. And like a lot of the girls who are in the same position as me now still get the same amount of like comments online and stuff, and like we all laugh about it now. But at first, like when you're a beginner to something and you're not quite sure where your feet are yet, it can really take quite a hit on you. You're going to get people telling you that you shouldn't be doing this, and they're going to be chucking their opinions at you left, right and centre, but do not listen to them, and like keep going, because you'll probably achieve so much more than what you're imagining right now.
Ha ania nóchus gun chéid barachlaníon a bhrosnach agus geamaichean spòrs. Aois nach chéid aineachach mar spòrs bhith san nám na teach.
I think especially this sort of sport where it's usually male dominated, and a lot of people who aren't involved in the sport look at it and think like maybe a girl shouldn't be doing that, I don't know. But I think it's really important for girls to do it. Like, not only is it really good for you know, your health, like your bone health and everything like that, it's also, like I say, it's so empowering, and I think it's really important that more girls get involved in the sport to help it grow as well. I want to try and push that as much as I can. Like, it's so silly, but every night, like before I compete, I'll make sure like I've done my hair, my nails are done, I do my makeup before I compete. Like, I don't care how silly it might seem, but I think it's important to like show that you don't have to be a certain kind of person to go and do this sport. That you can do whatever you want outside the sport and still go and do something that's maybe a bit male orientated and still love it. So.
Annie Tangle is na hula jolas a huari tro spòrs. Aois hai gamas bowna bhonachog ag kwarpas in na crinnes and tamli teach.
It's been a whirlwind, to say the least. I think the biggest thing that is like stuck out to me is the amazing places in the world that I've been able to travel with it. Like being selected for GB, I went to South Africa last summer for Worlds, which was amazing. And I've been to lots of different places and met lots of amazing people, so it's been unreal. So first one I've got this year is British Championships. Now, even though that's just a national comp and not an international one, it's still really, really important, because that's how the head GB coach picks the team for that year for Worlds and Euros. So I just need to see how that goes first before I start looking ahead. I don't want to assume anything. I would really like to medal at Worlds at some stage, as high up as I possibly can get. I know that there's really stiff competition, but that kind of inspires me. Like, I wouldn't look at the girls who are doing so much better than me and think, oh, I can't do that. Like, I'd look at it and see they're showing me that that's capable at this sort of body weight and this level. So I look at them and they really inspire me too.
Pauline, what an incredible woman. How much did you enjoy watching that one?
Oh, it was so good. I just think, you know, she just displays all the attributes you need to be a really top performer, and she's given her all to her sport, and it just proves that if you're fully focused and, you know, you really believe in yourself, and I love the bit where the stats were really important to her as well, and that just gives her more confidence to potentially go on and achieve her goals and ambitions, and I've got no doubt from watching even that short clip that she'll absolutely achieve what she wants to.
It was amazing, and even just that black and white measure of success.
Yep.
You know what you can do, what you need to strive towards, and how to achieve that.
Yeah, definitely, and she's saying, you know, even going into the World Championships that there are other athletes that are better than her, but she's so focused on herself and improving, and she fully believes she can get to that level and compete. So, yeah, really refreshing watching it.
It is, isn't it? And really interesting to see as well how much powerlifting has helped her mental health too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems that she's found the area that is really special to her, and you know, it maybe gives her that peace of mind when she goes in and feels really good about herself. And I think that comes across and is really evident in the interview, that she appears to be comfortable in her own skin. And I think when you get to that place, then, you know, you can achieve whatever you want.
And she has dealt with some really difficult things. I mean, even when we're hearing about the online trolling, that is so hard for anyone in sport. You're scrutinised from everyone.
Yeah.
For you and for your players, is that something that you talk about and help them with if that's to come?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more prevalent now, and I think what we all know for sure is we live in a world where everybody has an opinion, and I do think it's just continuing to focus on what you're doing and knowing and understanding you're giving your all to what you're doing, and try and block out what else is happening around you. How we change that in the bigger picture, I'm not quite sure, but certainly staying focused and knowing that, you know, her herself, she's done fantastic. And
even just the growth to just put that to one side and almost laugh about it now, and again just focus back on the sport and success and pushing that too. Yeah,
I mean, there isn't a nicer way to ensure that people don't say too much, isn't there, not to do well yourself.
Exactly, well, it's great. It was absolutely brilliant to see, and can give so many people kind of hope and motivation too across any sport.
Yeah, definitely, and you can see, you know, the attributes she has can cross over to anything you do in life. And you know, I think there's so many amazing female athletes in our country, and you know, they're all doing their bit to try and help the next generation coming through, and that was a brilliant example of it.
Totally is. We really hope Annie and wish her all the best for the future.
Absolutely.
I mean, for you with the 19s, just tell us what's coming up next.
Yep, so we have our qualification matches in Albania, so we play Liechtenstein and then Albania. And right now the players will be back at their clubs and pushing to get as many minutes as they can in the SWPL 1 and 2 matches that they have in the near future, and we want to get into that competition as prepared as we possibly can be to go there and try and win both matches.
And do you have your kind of eyes set on anyone or any more talent coming into the squad too? How important is that for you? Yeah, it is. I think, you know, it's always when you're part of a youth national team that you have to fight for your selection every single time, and we're continually looking to see if there's anybody we're missing or anybody's took a little bit of step forward in a short space of time, which can happen quite a lot. And yeah, we want the best players playing for the women's under-19s, and we're striving to achieve that every time we play. I can imagine that'll keep you busy.
It absolutely will, yeah, but it's good, it's exciting, it's great being involved in the women's game.
And are the girls looking forward to the next tournament too?
They are, they're super excited. It's like you're getting off the plane yesterday and they're saying, when will we find out if we're part of the squad? I know, so
that's what you want though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. They're so motivated now to get back to their clubs, but after that, you know, to come potentially be selected again and come away and make a significant contribution to the women's under-19s qualification.
That's great. It gives them very good motivation.
It does.
But Pauline, thank you so much for joining us this week.
You're welcome.
As we know, straight back from Spain, so we appreciate your chat and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Well, sinna hacin go ar son a noch, in a cheachdain bíúnach badminton agus Olympoch, Kirsty Gilmore callroom. Gyda nuair sin, Jen Keen seach go bhfuil se bhfuil lentin BBC Alba ar son an fistrach agus úra mu trí seascad ain. Agus, Cuideachd go bhfuil dagam mhór beo ar BBC Alba ar an ddíre cheachdain le Celtic a Cluiche Rangers de Haine agus Hearts and Hibs de Donich. Hí sin sibh an áthúras.